The night was unusually cold for early spring, a chill that seeped into my bones as I parked my patrol car outside the abandoned police precinct. I had heard the rumors, the stories of strange happenings and eerie occurrences that had plagued the building for years. But I was a skeptic, a seasoned officer who had seen it all, or so I thought. The precinct had been closed down a decade ago, after a series of unsolved cases and internal corruption had stained its reputation beyond repair. It stood like a shadow of its former self, the windows boarded up, and the once bustling halls now haunted by silence. I had been assigned the task of securing the building overnight, making sure no vandals or thrill seekers decided to venture inside. As I stepped out of my car, the wind whispered through the trees, and a shiver ran down my spine. I told myself it was just the cold, but there was something about the building that made my skin crawl. I entered through the front doors, the creaking sound echoing through the empty hallway. The dim glow of my flashlight illuminated the worn linoleum floor and faded posters that still clung to the walls. The building was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that seemed to stretch on forever. I could almost hear the echoes of past conversations, the laughter of officers, and the ringing of phones. But now, there was nothing but stillness. I pushed the unsettling thoughts aside and focused on my task, checking each room methodically, making sure all the doors were locked. As I made my way through the building, a feeling of unease settled in my chest. It was as if the walls themselves were watching me, their memories seeping into my consciousness. I shook off the feeling and continued my rounds, trying to ignore the nagging sense that I was not alone. It was when I reached the basement that things took a sinister turn. The air grew colder and my breath misted in front of me. The overhead lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. My flashlight beam revealed rows of empty jail cells, their rusted doors hanging open like gaping maws. And then, in the distance, I heard it, a faint whisper, like the soft murmur of voices just beyond hearing. I spun around, my heart racing, but the basement was empty. I tried to convince myself that it was just the wind or my imagination playing tricks on me, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I decided to head back upstairs, eager to finish my rounds and get out of the building. As I reached the main floor, the lights above flickered again, this time more violently. The corridor plunged into darkness, and panic gripped me. I fumbled for my flashlight, but when I turned it on, the beam was weak, barely cutting through the gloom. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, and began to make my way toward the front doors. But then I heard footsteps behind me, soft and deliberate. I froze, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. The footsteps grew closer, each one echoing through the hallway like a chilling drumbeat. I turned, my flashlight beam trembling as it illuminated the empty corridor. And then, in the weak light, I saw a figure, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to materialize out of thin air. My heart pounded in my chest as I raised my flashlight, the beam revealing a face that was distorted, almost like it was melting. The figure's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and a cold, guttural voice emanated from its form. "You should not have come here," it hissed, the words sending a shockwave of fear through me. I stumbled back, my mind racing as I tried to process what I was seeing. The figure took a step closer, and I could feel its icy breath on my skin. In a blind panic, I turned and ran toward the front doors, my footsteps echoing through the empty building. The doors were just ahead, a glimmer of safety, but as I reached out to grasp the handle, they swung shut with a resounding bang, trapping me inside. I spun around, my flashlight trembling in my hand, and the figure was there, inches away from me, its distorted face contorted in a grotesque smile, and its voice filled the air once more. "You cannot escape," it intoned, the words reverberating through the building. I backed away, my heart pounding, desperately searching for an exit. The figure followed, its form flickering like a spectral flame. I stumbled into a room, my back pressed against the wall. my mind racing for a way out. And then, with a surge of adrenaline, I remembered the fire escape. I burst through a side door and raced up the metal stairs, my footsteps echoing in the night air. The wind whipped through my hair, and my heart felt like it was going to burst from my chest. I reached the roof, the city lights stretching out before me like a sea of stars. But the figure was not far behind, its chilling presence growing closer with every step. With a final surge of energy, I reached the edge of the roof and leaped onto the neighboring building. I stumbled and fell, the impact knocking the wind out of me, but I scrambled to my feet and kept running. I didn't stop until I was blocks away from the precinct, my breath ragged and my mind in a whirl. I reported what had happened, but no one believed me. They chalked it up to exhaustion and stress, dismissing my claims of a malevolent presence in the abandoned building. But I knew what I had seen, what I had felt in the depths of that precinct. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that I had brushed against something ancient and malevolent, something that lingered in the shadows of that forsaken place. And sometimes, on quiet nights, I can still hear the whispers, carried on the wind, the echoes of a presence that should never have been disturbed.